Hello everybody, I'm Josh Ebersole and I'm the ceramics teacher here at Turlock High School, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make a dragon mug, which is a project I used to do a lot. It's actually not exactly a mug necessarily, but it is a dragon and something for the dragon to go in, which you can make a coffee mug or something like that. I've made kind of a mountain with a cave in it. But something like this, and I'm going to show you a few different things with making the dragon and focus mostly on the dragon and those details. You can see on this one side is kind of an angry side, the other side's maybe a little bit more concerned, so I'll show you how to adjust some of those details and facial features to get kind of a different personality in the dragon. So this is the mostly finished one, and I'm going to set it aside, but it might, anyway, it was kind of designed to peek out of the cave like that. But let's get started on another one, and you guys can see how to do it start to finish. So first thing I'll do is get a lump of clay. And by the way, if you're not in my ceramics class and you don't have clay at home, that's fine. You could use Sculpted, which you can get on Amazon. It's an air dry clay or something like that, and that works really well. You could even use Play-Doh. So if you guys are sitting at home and want something to do, get creative, find stuff around your house, and see if you can do this with the materials on hand. Alright, so this one I'm going to make a real simple kind of volcano. I'll start out by making a ball, poke a hole in the top, and squeeze the clay to make the walls thinner. So I just go around like that and pinch the clay between my fingers, and I'm going pretty quick on this because I want to get going with the dragon and really show you those details the most. Show you how to do that more so than the volcano. Okay, so I'll keep my volcano kind of cone shaped like that. Maybe poke a hole in the top if I want it to be a volcano. If I wanted it to be a mountain, I could just make it come to a peak. And I'll smooth out my finger marks. I've got a couple of tools here as well that I'm going to be using. One is just a popsicle stick. I've got another one that we use in the class that's just a thin metal knife. A butter knife works really well. And then one of my favorite tools is a sharp wood pencil. So I'm going to smooth this off a little bit and kind of get some flat edges rather than the finger marks, and see if I can make it look a little bit mountainy without spending too much time on this part. So I'm just using the flat edge of that popsicle stick to create some flat surfaces, and then I can use the edge and maybe create some cracks or something like that as well. So it looks like the mountain's got nice deep cracks in it, places for dragons to hide and hang out. Okay, something like that. That's about how I'll leave it, so that I can get started on the dragon. Okay, I'll set that aside. Now, to make the dragon, I'm going to make it probably bigger than what I really need for this size mountain, but I want you guys to be able to see all the details. So I'm going to make it a little bigger than it needs to be just so you can see it. You can feel free to make it however big you want. So I'm going to take a lump of clay and I'm going to pat it into a ball, but not exactly a ball. I want it more of an egg shape, kind of an oval. And as you're working with the clay, if your hands get, if they get clay on them, you notice the clay starting to crack and dry out, you can take a wet towel or a sponge and get your hands a little bit damp and that'll help to smooth out some of those cracks and keep the clay from drying too much. Okay, so once I have kind of an oval shape like that, then I'm going to take one end and I'm going to squeeze it down. And I want you to think you're kind of making like a chicken drumstick. Okay, so you just are squeezing one end to thin it out a little bit, and that becomes the dragon's snout and his head. So there's his head and there's his snout. And you can make it a little different than mine. If you wanted to give him a really long snout, you just keep squeezing it and making the snout longer. If you wanted to give him a short head, or you wanted to give him like a bony plate, you can do that too. There's all kinds of things you can do. Think about horns and details and those sorts of things that you might want to do on there. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do once I've got the head kind of sculpted is I'm going to make the eyes. And when I do the eyes, I grab it like this with my index fingers on the side, and I just press in. So I press in and make a nice dent right there, and then a lot of times I like to actually even pull up what would be the bone above the eye, the brow ridge. Okay, so now I've got two eye sockets, but I'm missing the eyes, so I'm going to pull off a little piece of clay and roll it into a ball. Just a small ball. It'll go in there like that, and I'll check to see if that's about the right size. And it should be a little bit smaller than the eye socket. And if that looks good, then I'll dip it in some water. Actually, I'm going to grab another piece of clay and compare them side by side before I put it in. Make sure that I get them about the same size, as long as they're close, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to dip them both onto my wet sponge, and then I'm going to press them into the eye socket. Alright, now here's where you can kind of mess around and give the dragon a bit of a personality. So I can change the way the eyebrows look, or the brow ridge. Dragons don't really have eyebrows. They're not mammals, so they wouldn't have any hair. But I can add some clay for that if I wanted to, for the top, make it stick out a bit more and make it a bit bonier. But if I wanted to change his personality, I could adjust the eyes, and that's one of the places that we see expressions show up a lot. So when someone's angry, their eyebrows tend to point down in the middle. When they're scared, they tend to kind of point up. So I'm going to show you guys how to adjust this and make some quick changes to really give your sculpture some personality. So get these in here all the way first and weld it in. Alright, so if I want this guy to be angry, I'm going to push his eyebrows down right there and really smush it over the eyelid, or over the eyeball. And I'll really smush it down, and I can push the outside corner up and really make him look like he's mad. Okay, now if I wanted him to look kind of scared or surprised or worried or nervous, maybe then I would, let me adjust this, then maybe I would push it up in the middle, or at the, sorry, not at the middle, but at the corner, and I would bring that part up like that and bring the outside of it down. Okay, so pretty easy to give the dragon two different distinct personalities. You just got to decide which one you want it to be. And if you want to get some ideas for how to do the eyebrows, look at yourself in the mirror and move your eyebrows around and see how your eyebrows go with different feelings and expressions, and think about things when you're angry or surprised or whatever. But watch how your eyebrows go. They give away a lot of emotion, and they are a really telling feature. So as you're trying to make this, if you're not sure how this part should go, make faces in the mirror and see how your eyebrows go, and then model the dragon based on your expressions. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to leave one eyebrow up, one eyebrow down. I'm going to give him some pupils. So I just take my sharp pencil, that I told you is one of my favorite tools, and I poke a dot in there for his pupils. I'm going to give him some nostrils and a mouth. For the mouth, I like to just take my pencil and I kind of trace a line. So I come up around the edge and then back in, and then I poke my pencil in and I move it around like that, and that gives them these big curly lips. And I can do the same thing on the other side. Just kind of come across here like this. I draw it in. I know it's a bit hard to see, but when I draw with this, I tell my students all the time, don't just draw with a pencil. We don't draw in clay, we sculpt it. So when you're making this line, make sure you really press the clay in. We call that modeling. And we press the clay in and we move it around a lot. We don't just draw on the surface. If you want to draw, stick to paper. Paper is great for drawing on, but clay is not a surface to draw on. It's a surface to sculpt, a material to sculpt. So we want to get lots of different depths in there. So you can see this bottom part of the jaw is lower than this top part. The top part sticks out over the bottom part. Okay. Alright. So there's the mouth. I'm going to make it look like it's tucked in, so I'm going to press it up with my thumb so it looks like it's tucked in over under the upper part of the jaw. It's a little bit crooked. Okay. I'm going to hide that by giving him a little bit of a kind of a beak shape. So I'll take a little ball of clay and make sort of a beak, like a bird's beak, so kind of a triangle. Get some water on it and attach it right there to the front and make it stick down like that. Okay? Alright, so now he's got kind of a beak, and it covers up where I might have messed up and been a little bit uneven. Whoa, that's really uneven. I realize now his eye is crooked. That's okay. One eye can be lower than the other. We've got two different sides. So we've got the angry side with a low eye and the concerned side with an eye that's up higher. Alright, so let's look at some nostrils. Now we've got the lips, and they're curled and all that. Now we'll do some nostrils. I'll be a little bit more careful about getting stuff even. So just like I did on the jaws, I put my pencil in and I move it around like that so I get a big wide open hole. Now I don't want them quite that big, so I can squeeze them closed a little bit, and I can press the clay down around the back side of it, so I create this almost like a little ridge that sticks out, and you can kind of see it there, right there. It sticks up now, it's not just flat. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side so you can see it, and I just kind of move my thumb along the back side so it sticks up now. And then I can take my pencil as well, and if I want to make it a little bit more of a line, I can roll that down there like that and kind of roll it. I like to roll the pencil. I don't use the tip of the pencil to draw. I like to roll the different parts of the pencil to model the clay, to move it around so that it creates 3D surfaces. Okay, I'll pinch the different parts together like that so they're about the same shape. Also, a lot of times on these, I like to give them wrinkles across the nose. So I'll use the side of my pencil again and just press in. Press down with the side of the pencil. Instead of drawing, I just press that surface in. And I can do the same thing between the eyes if I want and create some different depths, so it's not just an egg shape. Okay, even though we started with an egg shape, we might want some things that look like different bones and things like that that come up beneath the skin. Also with those wrinkles in there, now if I wanted to, I could smush this in and make those wrinkles curve up like that, or smush together, and kind of makes his face look like it's all wrinkled up. I wanted to make him look really bony. I could also take my pencil and I could press in around his eyes and make it look really, really bony and skinny, and like he hasn't maybe eaten for a while or something like that, and I can really make him look skinny or angry or distressed by creating these different depths on the surface of the clay. Okay, so don't be afraid to move clay around. That's how you get these really interesting looking creatures and forms and stuff, is by moving clay around. And the cool thing about dragons is, since they're imaginary, you get to just kind of make it up as you go. So there's no one right or wrong way to make it. Okay. If you want it to have horns, you give it horns. If you don't want it to have horns, you don't have to. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can even take the clay and pinch it up like that as you're sculpting and modeling, and I don't even have to add anything, and I've got this kind of bony plate-like ridge now. But if you wanted to add something like that, if you wanted to add a horn or a plate like that, you could add a horn by rolling a little piece of clay. You can roll it into a horn shape like that and just tap the bottom, flatten it out a little bit. Maybe model it a bit more. You want to get a nice smooth surface, and then you can stick it on the top somewhere if you think it needs a horn. Dip it in some water will help it, and then smush it down like that. Okay, if you wanted to do something like that, I think I'm going to stick just with that plate on there. But I might give him a tooth. So for a tooth, I could do the same thing that I just did. Since I've already made that kind of cone shape, I'm just going to take the top part because I don't need a tooth that's as long as that one was. And right here in the mouth, I'm going to press this in on the bottom and make a little hole underneath the top lip so I have a place to put it. Now he's got a big fang sticking out of the one side. Okay, so I'm going to kind of leave it at that and let you guys figure out how you want to do this, how you want to create your dragon. But like I said, the important thing is to remember you get to be creative. It's not, it doesn't need to be an exact replica of mine. I'm not the person who came up with a dragon or how to, I didn't create what they look like. It's not just my imagination. It's for you guys to imagine. But think about details. Remember to model the clay. Don't just draw on it. We want to push the clay around. We want to make different surfaces. And I want you guys to especially think about the eyes as giving off emotion and kind of expressing how this dragon feels. And you can even think about it in terms of like how you're feeling right now with everything that's going on with COVID-19, and some of you guys might be scared, some of you might be angry, some of you might be worried. some of you might be frustrated, especially the seniors out there, I'm sure, are frustrated with not being able to finish out their senior year and missing out on a lot of things. So maybe think about that as you guys are sculpting this. And then if you wanted to make a base, then you can figure out how you want it to go on there. If you want it poking through the top, or if you want to make a cave in here for it and make the head sticking out, or if you want to make a whole body and attach that to the outside somehow. But it's up to you guys, okay? So that's the end of my lesson, but you continue it, be creative, figure out how you can make an interesting dragon and some kind of a home for it maybe.